This is the first chapter of The Hunt for a Pack, which is a fan fiction that I wrote earlier this year. Actually started it last year. It is a fan fiction for Teen Wolf and Thiam oriented. And I just thought it might be fun to record my own stuff because I wrote it and I felt like it. Please enjoy. And let me know. Chapter 1. New in Town. The pack was out on their nightly patrol when they found it. They came across an area in the preserve covered in tents. They would have thought it to be casual campers had it not been for all the paw prints and the scent of wolves. These were clearly not regular people. Malia and Lydia had been the ones to find the impromptu hideout. They took photos on their phones and headed back to the McCall house to regroup. I have no idea who they are, but they shouldn't be here, Malia growled. Her coyote was clearly unsettled with having another pack so close by. They should have cleared it with the alpha in the area before entering our territory, Derek explained. The pack was currently gathered in Scott's living room, clearly without enough space for everyone to sit. Well, technically it's on the outskirts of our territory, Lydia clarified. It's pretty close to it, though. Scott nodded. To a group of real wolves, this would practically be a sign of war. It just wasn't done. Who knows what this other pack wanted, and it was Scott and his pack's duty to keep the townspeople safe, from any threats, supernatural or otherwise. Derek, you, Liam, and I will check it out tomorrow. Maybe we can compromise on what this pack wants, Scott informed them. The ex-alpha and the beta in question nodded. Is that a good idea? Theo spoke up. I mean, maybe we should take the whole pack to investigate, he suggested. Malia turned to glare at him. Why they had even allowed him to come to these meetings was beyond her. It had been years since he had betrayed them, and he had come back to help them with the Ghost Riders in Monroe, but she still didn't trust him. Scott had insisted he'd be allowed to come anyway, though, regardless of the fact that he was not pack. He would never be pack. At most, he was an ally, and even that was stretching it. I hate to say it, but I kind of agree with Theo. What if it's a trap? Stiles' voice came from the laptop. Unfortunately, he was still in D.C. because evidently FBI agents couldn't exactly go anywhere they liked. But it did help to have a man on the inside, so to speak. They'd find out about suspicious supernatural activity faster that way and had been able to track Monroe's movements. Scott took his best friend's words to heart, but made a decision against his warning regardless. I just think bringing more of a pack in might cause them to think that we might want to fight. They might feel like they have to fight back. Not all of the pack agreed with Scott's decision. Plainly Stiles, Theo, and the older Hales. Derek had been alpha, and he would definitely have gone in with backup, but he bit his tongue and agreed. Scott was the alpha now, and Derek would just have to accept his choices. Everyone cleared out of Scott's living room, and Stiles logged off. The puppy pack elected to go to the diner, as was their plan every time after a meeting. Can you believe it? Liam asked. Another pack in Beacon Hills? Alex shrugged. The newest member of the pack was pretty chill, perhaps even too chill in Liam's mind. Yeah, it seems a bit weird, Corey admitted. And dangerous, Theo supplied. He may not be pack, but Liam definitely counted him as part of the puppy pack anyway. Besides, these days Liam rarely went anywhere without the Chimera. Next to Mason, Theo is probably his best friend. The two even live together now, Theo living in Liam's parents' basement. He was taking a few classes at the local college while Liam attended an online university. Theo was doing all of his high school courses, as he hadn't really been able to focus on them the first time. Liam was studying history and had insisted he could juggle his course load as well as any werewolf duties. Yeah, I don't know if it's the best of ideas, only sending us 3, Liam supplied. Yeah, seems a little intense, Mason agreed. How many do you think there are? Nolan asked. Depends on how many are in a tent, I guess. They said 4 tents, right? Liam replied. Yeah, and that one was bigger than the rest, Mason said. That one's probably the Alpha's, Theo pointed out. Just be careful, Liam, Nolan spoke. Poor kid suffered from a little bit of anxiety now, which Liam guessed he probably had before everything had happened, but it was definitely much worse now. I'll be fine, Nolan, I promise, Liam said. Nolan gave him a small smile and nodded. It was the night after they had noticed the pack on the outskirts of Beacon Hills. Scott, Liam, and Derek stood in the shadows, trying to come up with a plan on how to deal with the situation. Maybe we should watch them for a bit and figure out how many there are before we rush into things, Liam suggested. Scott shook his head. That won't work. Eventually they'll realize we're here and assume we want to hurt them. Or you could just talk to us directly without scheming behind our backs, a young woman's voice came from behind them. They spun around quickly to see the woman. She had shoulder-length dark brown hair, brown eyes, and tan skin. She was short, but something about her exuded power. Liam had a feeling they wouldn't want to mess with her. So what do you want to know? She asked. She wore camo pants, a black short-sleeved shirt, and black combat boots. The men were surprised, to say the least, but Scott spoke up. Welcome to Beacon Hills, he said, sounding like some Walmart greeter and not the alpha that he was. I'm Scott McCall, he started before she interrupted him. Ah, that explains it then. You are the true alpha everyone keeps talking about. She said the true alpha part as though there were quotation marks. Scott seemed puzzled for a moment. Yes, that's me. And who are you? He asked, still not quite sounding authoritative enough. I'm M, she informed them. Alpha of the Rockies pack, she said, flashing her brilliantly red eyes. Just M? Derek asked. Yes, indeed. She nodded. I assume you know my mate? She gestured to a spot where a tall, curly-haired man with a trimmed beard appeared. Isaac? Scott asked, bewildered. Liam now realizing why the face looked familiar. He had seen photos of him when he had been younger. Hey, Scott, Derek, Isaac said, as if it wasn't strange to see him like this. He walked over to M and put his arm around her. Liam noticed that the height difference was almost ridiculous. Well, now that introductions have been given, she said, returning her eyes to normal, I assume you have more questions? Scott didn't answer, still full of shock at seeing his former friend and roommate. Derek didn't respond either, so Liam spoke up. What are you doing here? He growled, with as much venom as he could muster, eyes lighting gold. M's and Isaac's red eyes both lit up at the sight of Liam's, which in turn filled Scott and Derek with even more surprise. Well, you must be the little beta with anger issues, M exclaimed. I've heard wonderful things about you. Liam growled again. He wasn't little, and he'd been doing fine with his IED, thank you very much. Aw, he's just so cute. Isn't he adorable? M asked Isaac. He smiled a wide smile and nodded. Very cute, babe. Liam growled. He didn't much appreciate being called cute by these near strangers. The girl hadn't even been given a full name. Oh no, I think we upset the puppy, Isaac, M said in a mocking tone. Liam felt his claws dig into the flesh of his palm and smelled the blood. He asked you a question, came another voice. Liam didn't have to turn around to know it was Theo. It seemed like the ex-killer had taken to following him around even now. Well, you must be the Chimera. I was wondering when you gasped. The one who tried to get the little beta to kill his alpha. She winced before continuing. Guess that didn't really work for you, huh? She asked. What do you want? Theo asked again, voice coming out with a slight lisp, signaling that his fangs were out. Actually, you might not believe it, but I'm here for you, she laughed. Scott, Derek, and Liam all turned to stare at Theo. Liam hadn't meant to, but it was involuntary. Did Theo know this alpha? He couldn't help but ask himself. What? Theo asked, losing the edge in his voice due to the surprise. We're here for you, Isaac repeated. Well, you and a few others. Any chance the hellhound is here too? Em asked. She whistled twice as though calling a dog. Oh, how disappointing, she exclaimed. What do you want with them? Scott asked, finally breaking from his stupor. That frankly is none of your business, Scott, Em said, enunciating his name with ice. Scott turned to Isaac again, but Isaac just shrugged in response. It's not like they're your pack, right? Em asked, already knowing the answer. Liam winced and looked over at Theo, who was now just looking down. Liam glanced at Derek, who was also avoiding eye contact with anyone. Scott, though, seemed completely ignorant of their reactions. It's still important for me to know, Scott said. Oh, right! Town Protector Scott McCall, Em said sarcastically. Well, maybe it should be their decision, Isaac interrupted before Scott said anything. Scott nodded. I didn't mean to cause any issues, Scott said. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of being on our territory, and suggesting that it would be well advised to leave. If you want to meet with anyone, then that is their choice. Liam looked at Scott. It seemed a bit odd, but he shook it off. If that's all, we'll be leaving now, Scott said. Yes, and we'll get in contact when we need to chat again, Em said with a toothy smile. Scott nodded and left without another word. Derek followed Scott, but Liam took another glance at the Alpha, who gave him smiles, before Theo grabbed him by the arm and led him back to the truck. Concludes Chapter 1 of The Hunt for a Pack by Destined to Explode, also known as actually my name on Archive of Our Own. If you wanted to read more, you can on your own. I have the link in the description, and I hope you give it a chance to look at it. Thank you so much. Have a great day.